everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of the Valkyries vlog, where I'll be talking about the mixing and mastering and release of our first album, All Bets Are Off. So last episode we talked about the recording and probably dipped into the mixing a bit as well. Today I think I'm going to open with mastering, which is, I have to say, something I knew nothing about. So we were very naive going into the recording process and we didn't really realise what it entailed. And mastering, it turns out, is super important because when you record tracks, especially live, as we did for the record, they do come out at different volumes. You can level things going into the system as much as you want, but as musicians we played the heavier songs heavier and the lighter songs lighter, which meant that some of them were just naturally quieter than others. So that's a big part of it. There's also other things that in master they do to just to make the songs sound that little bit better and to finish them off and prepare them for release. And in that vein, I've chosen two very contrasting songs. I'm going to play you a section of the mixed song and then a section of the mastered song. And we're going to do that with Starling and 3 More Days. So here they are.
Sat up so high in the canopy. But I can't hear a thing. Bird song, let it sing. Let the music haunt you. Music haunt you. Oh, little bird, sat up so high in the canopy. But I can't hear a thing. Bird song, let it sing. Let the music haunt you. Music haunt you. Standing in the crowd, looking at the stage, eyes open wide, watching our heroes spend the afternoon at the bar. And I know it's not just that's happy that we're here for 3 more days. 3 more days. Now we're all wasted with our mates. Now we're all wasted and we'll be wasted for 3 more days. Standing in the crowd, looking at the stage, eyes open wide, watching our heroes spend the afternoon at the bar. And I know it's not just me that's happy that we're here for 3 more days. 3 more days. Now we're all wasted with our mates. Now we're all wasted and we'll be wasted for 3 more days.
Hopefully you can hear the difference between the mixed and master versions of the tracks. The master versions are obviously the versions that went on the album, but that then left us with a wonderful conundrum, and that is, how do we order this record? What's a good track order? And I thought what I'd do is I'd show you the iteration of that process. So if you look here is the first album order I ever put together, and this is before we even recorded the record. This is probably when I first had the idea to make a record, and you'll see some songs you might not recognise. Emerald Bay was the opener, Silver Lining was at number 3, Bridges was still seen as the closer, but I hadn't placed All Bets Are Off, and The River is still in there. You know, it's very different to how it would turn out in the end. Then I moved on to this second iteration, which I proposed to the band. So now All Bets Are Off, the title track, has become the opening track. Silver Lining is still at 2, Emerald Bay is still in there at 3. Under Old Harry's Eyes has crept in at 7 for some reason. I'm not quite sure why, but it is now a 12-song album, but a very different order in some places, especially at the top, to what we would release. The back end is actually quite similar, so you can see Now I Can Fly, 3 More Days and Bridges all back there as they would be, and Kind of Man I Am. But Airport Girl would move up. And then we move on to our final order, which I'll just whip through quickly now. After an awful lot of toing and froing and moving songs around, debating what sounded best, I think we came up with a philosophy that actually, as a small band releasing a debut record with no label, the best thing to do was really just to load the best songs at the front. And All Bets Are Off is the opener, not because it's the title of the album, because it's this really big, catchy, really heavy tune that hopefully would drag people in and get them to listen to more songs. And I always think I love openers like that. There's two ways to do openers. You can either kind of smooth your way in as a more established band, or you can just hit people, straight in the face. And like, Underdog on Kasabian's West Rider album is probably my favourite opener of all time because it just comes at you with this massive riff, and that's what All Bets Are Off does as it kicks in. It straight away grabs you. We then followed it with The Rose and Compass, which we thought was one of the strongest songs and a song we really liked. Starling, which we thought was a really lovely recording, also brings the tempo down a touch. Lets the Epiphany slide in there naturally with Claire's wonderful vocals. Then kick the pace up again with Road to Nowhere, in case it's lulling a bit in the middle. I also think there's a rule of the fifth track of an album always has to be pretty good as well, and I love Road to Nowhere. It's really good fun. Then bringing in Airport Girl for more Claire's nice vocals, Keep the Beers Coming, which starts to lift the tempo a little bit, and then we kind of kick it up 10 notches with Kind of Man I Am, which is this funky rock tune, 3 More Days, which is almost like a pop punk kind of style, Complex Metaphor, which is this really bright, lively indie tune, and then bring the album down with Now I Can Fly, so Bridges fits as our closer. And it's almost a shame to use Bridges as a closer, and we debated this long and hard because the reason it's the last track on the album is because it's our closer as a band. Whenever we play live, we finish on Bridges. It's one of our favourite tracks. It's got this lovely feel to it, real sentiment. It sounds really nice. Ollie gets to do some great guitar work. It's just got a cohesiveness to it, and I think we just wanted to put it there, but obviously very risky because maybe people would never actually get to listen to it. But I'll talk about that in the next episode. Finally come up with an album order. I then had the wonderful task of actually getting the album released, and just a tip to anyone like us, amateur musicians who want to self-release an album, it takes longer than you think. I was working a full-time job, I was really busy, and it was really quite tough. And the first step was to find a distributor, not a label, just someone that actually had the capability to get our songs out there on the streaming platforms and make them available for people to listen to and to buy. We found a wonderful company called CD Baby. The distributors are available, but they've done a fantastic job for us over the last 3 years, and we will be using them again for the second album as well. They got the album onto all the streaming services and online stores that we needed for, I think, a very reasonable fee. And then I had to go through copyright, so you had to give letters of intent, and you had to sign up with PRS in the UK for collecting royalties, and it's a very complicated process, and it took me ages. But in March 2017, we finally got that album out, and I know it's not a perfect record, and I think we can all admit when you listen to it there are errors and there are bits and pieces here and there, but given we recorded it in 3 weekends, 14 tracks, really, really pleased with how we did. Obviously not all 14 made it, I didn't mention that, but only 12 made it. Unfortunately, Emerald Bay we left out because we didn't think it fitted the aesthetic of the rest of the album, and the recording The Silver Lining we decided wasn't good enough, so that didn't make it in either. But yeah, that brings us to the end of today's vlog. I hope you've enjoyed this little more nerdy bit about mastering and releasing, the kind of nuts and bolts of the music industry, I think. But if you feel like some more music, obviously the links to the album are below. As always, we have the lyric videos up. We have the new vlog about the 1,000 recordings to hear before you die. And also we now have the video of us playing Bridges live. So feel free to enjoy any of our other content. I hope you're enjoying these vlogs, and join me next time.